Generally, the government entities operate based on the budgets that is granted by the legislative bodies. Here the auditor can check whether that particular road construction has happened really or not. So Hopcoms help their farmers to market their the fruits and vegetables that are produced. So the banks generate income by providing loans and advances to the customers. Hello everyone, I am Nikhilavati S, Faculty of Commerce, Vidhyaashram First Grade College, the Temple of Excellence, MYSURU. I welcome you all for the sessions on principles and practice of auditing. And we are discussing in the fourth chapter, that is company audit and audit of other entities. So we were discussing about the examining and verification of books of accounts of other entities. So let us move to the next topic, that is audit of government. So here it is all about examining the books of accounts of the government entities. Audit of government entities is a specialized form of auditing government entities where it refers to as government audit or public sector audit. Unlike the private entities, even the government has to handle many terms of funds and schemes to the public welfare. So here there is a huge money or the investment that is involved in the management of funds which are especially kept for the public management. The government audits ensure that the government entities are utilizing their funds properly. There is a proper fund management without any misuse or wastage of resources, and nowhere the amount is misused by some of the bureaucrats. This audit is generally conducted by the government auditors called Controller and Auditor General. So here to discuss about the audit procedure in the government audit. So for the first and foremost we have budgetary control. So it is one of the key areas of government audit where the auditor has to concentrate on is budgetary control. Generally, the government entities operate based on the budgets that is granted by the legislative bodies. So here the auditor checks whether this government body is working as per the budget or within the budget or not, whether that fund is utilized properly with proper authorization, and if there are any supplementary grants, whether it is granted based on or utilized based on a proper authorization or not. For example, if the department's budget for education program is 100 crores, and here the auditor has to check whether that department of that particular government body has utilized that particular 100 crores for education purpose only, and the amount is not exceeded without the prior approval or the permission. So next we have is revenue collection. So the revenue collection for the government bodies generally will be from tax amount. Here the auditor has to ensure that all the revenues of tax or fees or fines is collected and properly recorded, and there is no leakage of the revenue due to some of the discrepancies like corruption or some other problems. Next we have is procurement and contracts. So here some of the government bodies enter into contracts for purchasing of goods and services. So here also the auditor has to check whether all these transactions and contracts are based on proper agreements and it is done in a transparent manner. So next we have is asset management. So the government bodies are also responsible in order to manage their assets well and record the true values of the assets in the financial statements, as this assets, it's not just belongs to the government but also it is from the public funds. So assets of the government bodies must be utilized for the intended purpose. And next we have is role of the Controller and Auditor General. In India, Controller and Auditor General of India is responsible for auditing some of the government bodies of state government, central governments, public sector units, etc. Hence, a CAG's audit of government bodies is very critical in order to promote transparency and accountability of the governments and also their financial position. Now, let us look into the audit of local bodies. So, what is the process of auditing for local bodies? So, generally local bodies are the government entities that work at municipal or towns or panchayats level. These organizations handle public funds for administrating of specific areas such as cities, towns or villages. These local bodies are responsible to render the public service in terms of education, infrastructure, sanitation and other healthcare programs. So, the audit of local bodies is important to ensure that there is a proper financial operations done by these local bodies and they are providing the resources for the public. The audit of local bodies is also important because as these provide the administration at the grassroots level. So it is important to ensure whether they are accurate or transparent and they are accountable. So the audit process for the local bodies consists of planning the audit. So here planning means again deciding in advance what to do, when to do and how to do. And here with regard to the auditing, here the auditor has to plan regarding the local bodies, when to perform the auditing process and what type of audit he has to, and he has to identify like what are the key areas to be covered or some of the specific areas to be given more attention. Then collection of data. So the auditor collects the data usually from the vouchers, evidences and for every transactions, particularly important transactions, these are based on the evidences. So those evidences are vouchers and consent documents. So here the auditor has to collect for the consent documents and vouchers and the records that these local bodies have. They can also refer the contracts and other documents and also the financial statements of these local bodies. Then field audit. So here the field audit means the auditor himself goes and collects the data regarding like the financial position of that particular local bodies. Say for example, he can check the existence of the public assets, maybe the local park or a building, etc. He can cross-verify the financial records with the actual physical inspection of that particular expenses that are shown. Say for example, a road construction. Here the auditor can check whether that particular road construction has happened really or not. Again, the audit report here means the report that the auditor writes after observing and inspecting all the financial statements of that particular local bodies. So it is the report that the auditor gives whether the financial statements are showing the true value of the financial position or not. Then audit authorities for local bodies. So who are the audit authorities for local bodies? The audit authorities may include like state audit departments. So most of the states have separate state audit departments which audit the funds or financial positions of the local bodies, and also if the project is too large and which is funded by the central government, even the CAG can also audit. There may be some problems or challenges that occur in auditing local bodies, which include maybe poor availability of the staff or poor maintenance of the accounts, as well as some of the political influence on the local bodies may also affect the auditing process for the local governments. Next we have is audit of cooperative societies. So again, cooperative societies are the organization where a group of people will come with a common purpose. Either it's for production or marketing or promoting some. Cooperative societies are the voluntary organizations where a group of people come together with a common goal of achieving something. So here it may be production or operations or the marketing or promotion of some of the activities or some of the provision of goods or services. Here the cooperative societies' aim is to give mutual assistance and mutually achieving the objectives of the organization. Here the cooperative society's focus is on giving the mutual assistance as well as service to the members. There are different types of cooperative societies where it includes credit cooperative societies. Here the cooperative societies lend credit to its members at a reasonable rate of interest. Then we have consumer cooperative societies. So here in these societies they purchase the goods in a bulk order and provide them to their members at a reasonable price. So next we have is producer cooperative societies. So these societies help the producers. These cooperative societies help their producers to market their goods properly. Say for example, Hopcoms. So Hopcoms help their farmers to market their, the fruits and vegetables that are produced. Then housing cooperative societies, here they provide the help of building the houses for their members at a reasonable rates. Whereas marketing cooperative societies help their producers or the members to market or sell their products in a reasonable way, and it helps them for promotion of their products and services. The process for auditing the cooperative societies is similar to other entities, which includes planning the audit. So here the planning the audit means here the auditor concentrates on what are the areas to be covered, maybe some of the asset purchase or the loans provided to the members, etc. Then the collection of data and verification is done through collecting the vouchers, bank statements and consent documents, and also the financial records of these cooperative societies. Then field verification. So any kind of developmental activities which are done can be verified by the physical inspection of the existence in order to ensure the existence of the assets mentioned. Then the reporting, it's regarding the auditor gives the report on the cooperative society's performance, whether the financial statements are depicting the true performance or not. Then audit of hotels. So when it comes to hotels, these the hotels are service oriented industries where the hotels deals with different revenue streams, including maybe like room renting or food and beverages sales or hosting sometimes, and much more activities. The audit of hotel focuses on the expenses and the revenues, and also how effective is the operation. So it is in order to check the efficiency of the operations. So here the audit procedure, some of the key areas where the auditor has to focus when he goes for the auditing of hotels includes room revenue. So here the room revenue is the room rentals that are provided by the hotels, and here the auditor has to check for the what is the room occupancy rate and what is the actual rate that is charged on the customers. So he has to check for all the revenues or the number of customers and the amount received and all the calculations. Then he can see for the food and beverages revenue. So one of the most important revenue stream of any hotels is also the food and beverages. So the main income that is gained through the food and beverages is also is verified by the auditor, and the expenses related to the food and beverages can be verified. Then the event and conference income. So some of the hotels also host the events, conferences and some of the seminars in their hotel. So here the auditor has to check for the income that is come from event and conference. Then inventory. So inventory of the hotels, various tools and machineries that are used for the production of foods and bakes, then and also other assets of the say for example the assets that are used by the hotels management that can be checked, and also the operating expenses. Operating expenses such as maintenance of the cleanliness within the hotels, as well as other maintenance and repairs and employee salaries, etc. Now let us see the audit of hospitals. So hospitals provide a wide range of healthcare services, including diagnostics, patient care or other testing laboratories, surgeries, etc. Some of the key areas where the auditors of hospitals have to concentrate includes the patient fees, because the main income for the hospitals come from the patient fees of inpatient and outpatient fees and fines that is charged, and also it includes pharmacy and medical inventory. So here also The inventory or the stock here is the medicines that are maintained in the pharmacy of the hospitals and other equipments like surgicals. Then they have to concentrate on the expenses of the hospitals. The expenses of the hospitals include medical staff salaries and cleanliness, maintenance and other repairs and purchase of medicines and surgicals. Then the auditor has also should check for the insurance and third party payments. Hospitals often deal with the insurance companies for their patients reimbursement. So here the auditor has to concentrate on the insurance companies and the transactions that have happened and also other payments that have happened. Then the donations and grants, if any. So if any other organization or individual has provided any kind of donation and grants to the hospital, that must be verified by the auditor. So in the audit of other entities, at last we have is audit of clubs. So clubs includes the social clubs or sports clubs and other recreational clubs which are non-profit organizations. Clubs generate income through membership fees, events and other activities. So here the audit of clubs concentrates mainly on the membership fees or fines received and the income received through events and activities, etc. Some of the key areas of auditing of clubs focus on the membership fees. Here the auditor has to check for the membership fees because clubs often derive a particular or a significant amount of fees as an annual charge from their members. So here the auditor has to check for the income that is generated through membership fees and also the event revenue. So here the clubs will be conducting many kinds of events for the welfare of their own members as well as public. So here the revenue that is generated through the events can be audited by the auditor. Then it includes clubhouse and facility revenue. Clubs also generate additional income by renting out some of the club facilities including clubhouses or sports grounds and banquet halls. So these revenue can be examined by the auditor. Then the overall expenses of the clubs is audited by the auditor. So here the expenses is also one of the important area where the auditor has to concentrate, particularly when he is auditing for the clubs. When it comes to the auditing of the banking companies, we have audit of banks. So here in the audit of banks, so banks are generally generate income through the deposits and they provide loans to the customers. Some of the areas to focus while auditing the banks, the auditor has to concentrate on the deposits, loans and advances, investments, etc. So here the deposits are one of the areas of revenue for the banks, where here the banks receive the deposits from the customers in terms of savings deposit or a recurring deposit or a fixed deposit. So the auditor must verify whether all these deposits are properly recorded in the financial statements or not. Then the loans and advances. So the banks generate income by providing loans and advances to the customers. The auditor should verify the loan agreement or the adequacy of collateral and how the repayment of the loans is taken from the customers. Then investments. So here any kind of investments that are made by the banks on the either the financial market securities or bonds or stocks or mutual funds, etc. So these must be verified and examined by the auditors. Then the non-performing assets. So here any kind of bad debts for more than 6 months. The auditor has to identify any kind of non-performing assets if there are any. That must be identified and how it is calculated, and he has to verify what is the amount of NPA in the bank. Then finally, the compliance with regulatory guidelines. So here the auditor must ensure that whether the banks are in compliance with the regulatory guidelines and rules and regulations or not. So this was all regarding the various types of entities and the audit procedure for these entities. So hope you all have understood. Thank you.